Hello, we're going to do a quick addendum to the Surviving Conquest Enhanced video series today, and we're going to talk about the update and so the June 2024 update and its impact on the gameplay. So we're going to do this in possibly the most scuffed way possible. Where I have just ripped the patch notes from Discord because it's the only place that it's posted into a notepad, and then I've got a few windows open that I'm going to switch between. So we'll just get started. First of all, like I mentioned, I've just copied the notes out of the announcement page from the Discord. So if you're not subscribed to Discord or you're not joining it or haven't joined it, would encourage you to join, and you can get the notes like this directly, and you can also interact with everybody else who is plotting through their campaigns on Conquest Enhanced. So it's a good resource, and would definitely encourage anybody who's new to ask questions there. Especially, it's a helpful group. So I have noted a few items with two stars here and 1 star and then no stars, just for my own sake of how to gauge their importance. And there are 4 topics that we're going to address at the beginning, and then we'll sort of run through the rest at the end. The 4 major changes that we have in this update are the addition of the mod configurator, the buildable emplacements, the change to the AI's purchasing mechanics, and the change to the attack time and the tick rate for the AI when it's on defense. So first we will start with the mod configurator, which is a very, very neat little tool that is now within. This used to be you used to have to go into the text files within the mod folder and make setting changes. Some of that now has been moved into this menu here, which is available within the game files in your C drive, which is cool. So, full disclaimer: I have not made any changes to this myself. I don't usually, I don't make changes to this. I play the mod exactly as it comes. But if you find things are not to your liking, you can now actually use this interface and make some changes here. That coupled with some of the additional instructions that are in the Discord for some of the other items that are not listed here, you can really fully customize your game. Just be aware that if there is an update to the mod, and the Steam files basically have to revalidate, all of your changes will be wiped out. So you got to go back in and make the changes again. Just That's just an FYI for you. I don't think it should prevent you from doing it, but just for awareness, if you're like, oh, why did all my things get wiped? It's because there was an update to the files. We have also the new emplacement system, which is cool. So I'm going to go over to the game real quick, and I have already up the research tree. And these emplacements are accessed. Right now I have the Germany tree up, but all of the factions are more or less the same. The prerequisite is to have the engineer truck researched, and then you get a handful of freebies here. These don't cost anything to research. The static emplacements. Then you also get access to the build of supply crate, which is cool. And then you also, each faction has a few unique emplacements that they can build that are sort of prerequisited by their sort of parent unit. So for instance, right now I have up the research tree from my current playthrough with playing as Germany, and I've already researched the Flak 41. So here you can see that we have the ability for me to build this Flak 41 as a standalone emplacement in the game. So you have to pay manpower to build this, or to get a build charge for this. And it also comes with no crew, so your engineers will build this. It will, and then need to be crewed by a unit in your a spare unit that you have, infantry unit. So each faction has their own. For instance, for Germany, they have the Flak 41, the Flak 48, or sorry, Flak 88, excuse me. You have Pack 40 and a bunker, which is a cool one. Flak 88, and it comes in this, sort of comes in the bunker, which is neat. This one does, just on its own. I also have an artillery piece, MG42 tower, and I already talked about the Flak 41, so this is the Flak 41, and then just a static mortar emplacement. So as you can see, some of these come with manpower costs. So the way to do this is you start here. Here's the screen you normally are at on the campaign. You go over to the Emplacements tab and you just drag them over here into the tab that has, I think this by default pops up. Yeah. So when you click on the Emplacements, it automatically switches you over to the tab here with the little wrench, which is the Emplacements tab. And you can just drag them into there, and then it will, if it costs manpower, obviously you have to have enough, and it will transact it for you. So now you have all of these items here, which will show up in the game, in the sidebar, sort of in the same area that your call-ins show up in. And what you do is you select your engineer, and then you then select the emplacement that you want to build, and it will pop out, and you just place it down. Just one other thing to note, although these items are free in terms of manpower, they do cost build charges. So like the pillbox, for instance, I'll just pick one, the pillbox. If you were to build this in the game, it doesn't cost you any manpower or anything, but it does cost a portion of the engineer's build charges. So if you don't have a truck to resupply his build charges, he'll be limited on the number of other things he can build. So sandbags, foxholes, whatever have you. In my experience, and I don't know if this is the same, there's no scientific evidence or whatsoever, but I think you can build 2 of these sort of freebie emplacements with each engineer. So if he builds 2, he's going to be completely out of build charges. So just keep that in mind. You can't build anything else, no sandbags, nothing, unless you have an engineer truck. Okay. That's it for the emplacements, I believe. Yeah. So I'll go back to the... I'm adding this in post. One thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the emplacements, when I was going through the emplacements the first time, is the single-use radio car. This is available... it's this item right here. It's available in the research tree right here, right below the officer and the right up at the top, and this is basically a buildable version of the armored command car that is usually the last one on the tree here that prevents the communication loss event. You now have the ability to build that earlier in the campaign if you want. So you actually will construct this as an emplacement, and you stick a person in there, and then it mans it just like a regular one. So you have access to this much earlier than you would otherwise. You can get it right. You can get it from day one if you so choose. There is a manpower cost associated with that, if I recall correctly as well. And then you build it, then you got to put a guy in there, and then it will give you back your minimap. To the notes, and then the next major point is the change to the sort of AI purchasing. Previously, this used to work by the AI had a sort of set number of templates that they would build from, and what that meant is you would get armies that sort of favored one type of unit over the other, or maybe they had a really well balanced army that wasn't particularly good at any one thing. For instance, you could roll. The AI would have an armor heavy composition, so they'd run a ton of tanks at you. And if you were set up to defend that, you could really shut it down very easily. Now, the selection process for the AI is a little bit more dynamic. They have the ability to, it has the ability to select different units based on what's in front of it, from what I understand. in my experience, both on the playtest and now in the live patch, it doesn't change a ton, other than that the armies seem to be a little bit more well balanced. So they can't, and then they use those units in conjunction. So let me give you an example. The AI will spawn infantry and some support weapons. They will send them straight at you, and then at the same time or slightly after, they will spawn 2 to 3 vehicles. And then the vehicles, you'll see them come out and flank you around the side, so that the infantry and then the vehicles sort of hit at the same time, which is obviously a lot more challenging. But it makes things a little bit more realistic, and it's not just like you're just defending waves and waves of mindless hordes coming at you. You do have to think, you have to be a little bit more reactive. I think the other thing I've noticed is that they definitely tend to bring more support weapon teams than they used to. Previously it was a lot of vehicles and then just infantry. Now they'll bring towed support guns, mortars, MG crews, things like that. So it's changed as a little bit different. I don't think it's necessarily more or less difficult than previously. It's just a little bit more less rigid. And I don't think that unless you've played Conquest Enhanced for a long time, you probably won't notice a difference. Alright, and then the last major change, and probably the most impactful from a gameplay perspective, is the change to attack missions. To now, and if you've watched the previous videos in the Surviving Conquest Enhanced series, you will notice that I go pretty slow, and I also encourage the new player, to go very slow when on attack, and be a little bit more deliberate with your scouting, and play carefully so that you can minimize your casualties, because that helps your econ and thus helps you progress further into the campaign. Well, that's kind of gone out the window, because the rate at which the AI gains victory points has been very, very much increased. So now the system works very similarly to actually the way that the victory points add when the player is on defense. So if you'll recall, the player gains victory points both for kills and for the number of flags that they hold. And the more flags they hold, the more victory points they're going to accumulate over time. So what that means is, if you hold 3 out of 3 flags, the victory point accumulation rate will be higher than if you only held 1 out of 3 flags. The same is true now in reverse. So if you have controlled no flags and the AI controls all of them, your rate will be very, very high. And if you can take 1 or 2, depending on how many there are total, it will decrease the rate at which they gain points. How does this translate in the early war? So day 1 to 8, I wouldn't expect any attack to last more than 30 minutes. That's a very, very early. Even it's like 22 minutes, 23 minutes. Your day 1, day 3 attack is going to be very, very quick. So you really can't spend a lot of time trying to play cautiously. You really are going to have to work with imperfect information, and you're going to have to be a little bit more adaptable. By the mid-war, this does slow down a little bit, because as the AI has more flags, it's weird, because it seems that the tick rate is actually higher early in the campaign than it is later on, and I think also the fact that you have more flags to take gives you further ability to decrease that rate a little bit. So again, for a point of reference, on the playtest, when I was reaching the mid-war, so maybe up to day 14, 15, 16 or so, towards the end of the mid-war, I should say, the battles were lasting about 45 minutes, whereas previously, pre-patch, you could be up over an hour on those at that time. So what does this mean? This means that we've got to be much more proactive about how we attack. So we can't sit around and set up our recon. We can't sit around and walk up our infantry and spread everybody out and organize them into nice little groups. Mobility and speed now become the key. So I think this gives a little bit more use to mechanized vehicles, half tracks, trucks, things that can tow support weapons become very, very helpful, are very, very important, because you can't sit there and wait for them to push their gun all the way up the map, especially if you have a large map and you spawn very far away from the flags. You got to get a move on and get in there quick. So it gives a little bit more utility to some units that maybe previously were not. Like infantry that come in trucks are now much more useful, because you can move them to the front faster and move them around to the flanks and things. There was already an incentive for you to take over the map quickly, because the faster you did that, the fewer units the AI could spawn as reinforcement. But now it's even more so the case, because you're fighting that tick rate timer. So this is probably the thing that is going to be the most difficult change for this patch. But I would just encourage you to stick with it. It's going to take a lot of getting used to, especially for long-time Conquest Enhanced players. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment. You're going to have to undo some habits. It was a painful adjustment period, and it still is for me, both through the playtest and now in the live patch. So a big change, and nothing to say that this may not change in the future, but you're going to have to play a little bit more recklessly now. Alright, let's go through. I don't want this video to drag on too long, because it's really just me talking over this scuffed notepad patch notes. So let's quickly run through some of the other sort of highlight points. I'm just going to go top down here, I guess. Hit some of the high points. Just some cost rebalances for the command vehicles and for the artillery. Artillery used to be a lot more expensive. I think minimum of 30 for a tube artillery piece. That's been reduced. So artillery may be no longer as essential because of the speed at which you have to attack now. You can't just sit there and shell. Two quality of life changes. One, the difficulty text has been changed within the game. I note this in the first video of the Germany versus US campaign that I'm doing in parallel, so you can see that in in-game example. I'm not going to pull it up right this second, but it's now a little bit more intuitive. It's easy, medium, hard, and impossible. So you know what you're getting into on that. Some performance improvements. Another change that's pretty impactful in my opinion, is the removal of the mines from the engineer trucks. Previously, you used to be able to just buy an engineer truck, and you'd get all the mines and you'd get 2 engineers. Now it's sort of been disaggregated, so engineers now just repair, infantry now lay mines, and then the engineer truck is there just to resupply the engineers or the mine layers. So you still have to build. Let me flip over to the game real quick. You still have to build. Let's look at the tree real quick. So previously you would grab the field engineers and you'd unlock the AT and AP mine engineers, but as soon as you unlocked the engineer truck, you no longer had any reason to build the AP or AT mine engineers, because you got the mines in the truck. It's no longer the case. You still have to build these guys to bring the mines, and then you have to run them back to the truck to get more mines. So the rate at which you can put mines out is now gated by the number of mine engineers that you have. So it's not free now to bring mines, more or less, in terms of population costs. You still have to bring these guys, and then you have to have share build resources for build charge resupplies and repair kit resupplies with the regular field engineers. So it's kind of a cool change, I think, in terms of the mechanics, because it used to be a little bit too powerful to bring, to have a lot of mines. And also, I don't think it's mentioned here, but previously you used to also get mines in the tier 2 and tier 3 defense crates. Those are no longer the case. It just says mines from engineers trucks. You no longer get them in medium and large defenses. Actually, I think it was just medium defenses that gave mines. But yeah, that's a big change in the way that in the accessibility and the availability of mines, which are very, very strong, and it gives it makes it a little bit less. You have to invest a little bit and be a little more careful. You can't just bring a truck and get everything you want. Okay. AI can now buy a recon plane. I haven't really. I still don't understand what if this has a huge impact. It does give them obviously vision, but I don't know that they respond any differently. I'll keep an eye on this. Some cost changes for infantry. Soviet infantry increased a research point cost for early Soviet tanks. This is on me, everybody. My playtest campaign as the Soviets, I did the Turbo Cheese KV Rush, and it's too strong, or it was too strong, and now that's been nerfed a little bit. So I'll take responsibility for that one, but for that change, or having that taken away from us. But it really was a little bit too good. Let's see. Another item here that's a nice quality of life is the change in the reward icon. So if you recall, these used to sort of be clipped. If you hovered over the map, they used to clip off of what was the icon was kind of scrunched together, and you couldn't see. The last little bit was always hidden. I think there was a guy in the Discord who actually figured that out. I think his name's actually in here. It's Nectos. So shout out Nectos for fixing that. Nice quality of life change for everybody. And then some adjustments on call-in stages and things like that. It does say also here at the very end, improved AI targeting priorities to better counter planes. I don't have any idea of what the impact of this is. I haven't really seen it. So I can't really speak to that. Presumably it's better. I know that's sort of an issue with the AI targeting priority as it is now. Okay, I think that's everything to discuss. I don't want this to drag on for too long, so thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you have any additional comments. Join the Discord, and yeah, we'll see you out there. Good luck, everybody.